Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Faye, and for today's video, I am bringing you a highly requested, very highly requested video. Ever since I mentioned to you guys that I could film my foundation routine, like sweat proof, transfer proof, all of the above, long wearing, mask proof, all that kind of stuff, you guys have been on me asking for me to film this video for you guys. So I am here today to finally film that video for you guys, share it with you guys, show y'all my tips, my tricks. I have a lot of techniques in this video that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. It's going to be a super thorough foundation routine specifically for my oily skin girls, but there are a lot of tips in this video that can be used regardless of your skin type. And if you don't have oily skin, you can definitely just take the tips, tricks, and techniques that apply to your particular makeup routine and use those when you're getting ready. So don't feel like you have to use every single technique that I share in this video. Don't feel like you have to have every single product that I share in this video. I'm really just wanting to share with you guys the tips that I've learned, the techniques that I've learned that have really helped me to keep my makeup lasting. Like when you guys see the foundation reviews that I've done in the past and my makeup is lasting 8, 10, 12, even one video I fell asleep in my makeup and woke up at like 3 o'clock and my makeup was still in place. These are the techniques that I used in those videos and on a daily basis when I know that I need my makeup to last a really long time. And especially now that it is summertime, it's getting hot down here in Atlanta and we want our makeup to stay fresh, long wearing, looking good, looking matte while we're out brunching and living our life and, you know, doing all the things. So if you enjoy this video, definitely let me know by giving it a thumbs up. All of the products that I share in today's video will be listed and linked for you guys down below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. All right, so I've got you guys zoomed in to my bare face, as you can see, because as I mentioned in the intro, today I am finally sharing with you guys my full coverage, transfer proof, mask proof, sweat proof, all of the above summer foundation routine. This has been a video that you guys have been asking for a minute, so I am finally delivering it for you. And in full disclosure, I did actually film this video previously, but there were some things that had changed and some new techniques that I have learned since I filmed that video. So I decided to throw that footage to the side and refilm it for you guys so that I can give y'all all the tips, all the tricks, all the techniques. So before we actually jump into the makeup portion, I wanted to quickly give you a couple of tips that are important before you even get to the makeup. I'm not going to spend too much time on these points, but they are definitely worth mentioning in my opinion because they do make a difference in the overall application and wearability of your makeup. So the first thing is what you actually put in your body, so what you're eating. What you eat comes out in more ways than one, and in some cases what you eat does have an effect on your skin as far as acne and texture and different things like that. So you definitely want to be paying attention to the things that you are putting in your body on a day-to-day basis. Secondly, the amount of water that you drink. I cannot stress enough how important it is to drink a lot of water. I have this little water bottle right here. This is the Hydro Flask. I'll link it for you down below if you're interested. You can pick them up from Whole Foods, you can order on Amazon, or you can order directly from the Hydro Flask website. I absolutely love this because number one, it keeps my water cold for hours, like over 24 hours. It keeps my water cold and it's cute, it's pink, and it just reminds me to make sure that I'm drinking enough water. I can take it on the go. It's got a cute little, you know, situation. I can hold it when I'm out and about. And I actually have several really cute, aesthetically pleasing water bottles. I'll link them all for you guys down below. Anything that you need to do to help remind you or make you excited about drinking water, listen, I'm all about it. So if you got to get a cute little water bottle so that you can feel excited and interested about having your aesthetically pleasing water bottle and making sure that you drink your water, you do what works for you. But definitely make sure that you are drinking lots and lots of water. You will see a huge difference in your skin. And then last but not least, this is a tip for everyone, but especially something that I want to mention to my oily skin girls, is moisturizing your skin. When I first started getting into makeup, I thought that since I was oily, I didn't really need to moisturize. And I've learned over the past specifically couple of months, since I've had more time to be at home and just kind of focus on self-care, what I'm actually putting on my skin before I'm putting on makeup, as far as skincare, cleansers, serums, toners, all of that stuff, it does make a huge difference. So I will be filming for you guys soon my current skincare routine, because I do feel like I finally kind of figured out what is working for my skin, and I am starting to see changes and differences in my skin with the routine that I'm currently using. So I will have that coming really soon. But I did want to mention to you 2 moisturizers that I am currently kind of cycling through. The first one is from e.l.f. and it looks like this. This is the e.l.f. Holy Hydration Face Cream, and the thing that I really love about this one is that it has SPF 30. So I am all for a 2-in-1 moisturizer and SPF. It cuts out having to have an additional product in my routine for the SPF, which is very important. You do want to make sure that you are wearing your SPF on a daily basis. This one also has hyaluronic acid, and I have actually really been enjoying this. Typically for oily skin, the recommendation is to use oil-free gel-based products. This one is kind of more of a cream formula. I'm not really sure if you guys will be able to see, but for me, I've been enjoying it. I have super oily skin, and I haven't noticed that it leaves behind a residue or that it impacts the application of my makeup afterwards. And then another affordable option is this one from Garnier. This is the Garnier Water Rose 24-hour Moisture Gel. I've been using this one lately because I've been wanting something a little bit lighter on my skin, especially since we're getting into the warmer months. So in this case, I would have to pair this with an SPF, but this is the moisturizer that I use today. And I did want to just quickly share 2 affordable options with you guys, because moisturizing your skin before your makeup, about like 2 to 5 minutes before you actually start applying other products onto your skin, is super, super important. All right, so now that we've got those tips out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into my actual routine. So first things first is primers. If you have been watching my previous makeup tutorials or just makeup videos in general, you guys know that I am a huge fan of layering and creating primer concoctions to basically address different areas of my skin that have different needs. So the first step that I always like to do is go in with kind of like a base to all of my primers, if that makes sense. Essentially like a soft matte kind of mattifying all over face primer. If you have a mattifying moisturizer, you may not necessarily need to do this step, but I've noticed when I don't do this step, I notice a difference, so I always do it. For this step, I always use either my Fenty Pro Filter primer. I use this one, and I also use the mattifying one. I really like the mattifying one, but I'm out of it, so today I will be using this one. And lately I've also been using this one from NARS. This is the Soft Matte Primer. Looks like this. This one is a new one to my collection. I picked it up during the Sephora sale. I don't remember if it was this most recent one or the one before that. Or maybe it wasn't even during a sale. I might have just picked it up randomly, but I've heard a lot of really good things about this, so I decided to pick it up, and I have been using it, especially with my NARS foundations, which I will be using one of those later on today. So just wanted to give you 2 options for this step, but today I'm going to be using my go-to Fenty, and I'm literally like taking the cap off and scraping the tube because that's how much I use this primer. And I'm almost out of it. So I just take about this much on my hand, and I'm just going to apply that all over my face. It's kind of like a second moisturizer, honestly, but like I said, when I skip this step, I always notice a difference. So always make sure to go in with this. Okay, so after that, I like to go in with a smoothing primer. One of my favorites is this one from Cover FX. This is their blurring primer. This is actually the old packaging of this primer, but I have just been trying to finish mine, so I've just been trying to use it up. So I take about this much on my hand, and I just kind of smooth it in between my 2 fingers, and then apply it mostly on my cheek area where I have large pores. I do tend to get some lines on my forehead, so I'll put a little bit on my forehead, bring it down into my smile lines, and then I'll also bring it up underneath my eye because I do have some fine lines under there. So I bring it up there and also on my nose, like so. This primer is actually a little bit difficult to get your hands on. They used to sell it in Ulta, and then I guess they've kind of phased Cover FX out of Ulta. So if you don't want to try to track this down, I will link it for you down below. But if you don't want to try to track it down or purchase it from the Cover FX website, another primer that is similar to this one is the Benefit Professional, the green one, and also the one that comes in the pink tube is really good as well. The consistency or the formula of both of those is really similar. So if you don't want to try to get this one, you can definitely use the ones from Benefit. And then last but not least, for the priming portion of my foundation routine, I use a gripping primer. So this will not come as any surprise to you, the ones that are my favorite. First is the Milk Hydro Grip. You guys already know I use this literally every single time that I do my makeup. And then recently, e.l.f. actually came out with a little dupe to this primer. Honestly, the e.l.f. one to me is a little bit more tacky, a little bit more grippy, but they both essentially do the same thing. They're the same color, same formula. This one is just a little bit more tacky, a little bit more grippy, like I said. It's also a much more affordable price point. So if you are not wanting to spend the coins on the Milk one, you can pick up the e.l.f. one. Also, another dupe for both of these primers is this one from Hard Candy. You can actually find this at Walmart. It may be available at Target as well, but I know you can definitely find it at Walmart. This is the Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer 12-Hour Makeup Grip. I have shown this in previous videos, and it has the same color, consistency, formula, you know. So you've got 3 options. I'll link all of them down below. But today, I'm actually going to use this one from e.l.f. because you guys have seen me use the Milk Hydro Grip like numerous times. So I take 2 pumps on my finger, and then I just kind of apply it to my cheeks, forehead, and my chin, and then I'm just going to go ahead and rub it in. Now, one thing I do want to mention about this primer is once you kind of do like a light rub in of this, that's probably not the best way to say that, but y'all get what I'm saying. You don't want to do too much rubbing, because then what can happen is you'll get that like crumbly situation that happens sometimes when you're doing creating a lot of friction on your face with your primers. So once you kind of get a nice smoothing out of the primer, just pat the rest of it in, and you'll start to feel your face get tacky. Like, I don't know if you can see that my face is super tacky. So I'm just gonna pat, and then that'll just also help keep your the primers underneath from crumbling as you're layering on different primers. So just to summarize, we have our base, our mattifying base primer, then we have, or like our soft matte, I should say, base primer. Then we have our smoothing primer. Then we have our makeup gripping primer as the very top layer. So that's all that we're going to do for primers. So next up is color correction. If you don't need this step, then you can just skip right on past this. I will have chapters along the playhead or the play bar of this video. So if you want to skip to certain parts, you can do that. They'll also be listed in the description box. But if you do need a little bit of color correction, as you can see, I have a little bit of darkness under my eyes, some darkness around my mouth, and then also some dark spots on my cheeks. I'm going to show you guys how I kind of neutralize that before I apply my foundation. So for that, I'm actually going to be using 2 products. I'm going to be using my Live Tinted Color Correcting Stick, and then also this concealer, soft matte concealer from NARS. I have mine in the shade Caramel, which is closest to my complexion. So for all my foundation twins or skin tone twins, I have mine in Caramel, and then this one is in the shade Balance. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually apply this, and I just do a line under here, a little bit here on these dark spots. I had a bump here that is on its way out, so I'll just do a little bit there, and then also a little bit above my lip. So after that, I'm going to go in with my NARS concealer, and I'm actually going to use this to blend it out. So to apply this and to blend out this concealer, I'm going to be using this brush from Morphe. This is the Morphe E45, and I'm not going to use a lot of this. I'm literally going to tap it in and then tap it over top. You really don't need a lot. And then you see how it kind of blends it out, but it also adds a little bit of a skin tone shade so that it's not just like straight orange. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Tap it out. Same thing here. And then I'm also going to bring some of this up around my nose area. it almost kind of changes it to like a more pinky tone or peachy tone. But I've noticed if I actually just buy peach toned correctors, they don't work for my complexion. I think they're too light. But this basically kind of accomplishes the same thing. And then lastly, under my eye. And for my eye, I'm actually going to bring this out this way and also up into my inner corner as well. All right, so now that we've got our color correction applied, the next thing I'm going to do is actually set all of this in place so that when we go in with our foundation after this, it's not going to be moving and shifting all of basically what we just laid down. So for that, I'm going to be using this powder, another product from Cover FX. Again, I will link it for you down below, and I'll also try to link some alternatives. But the reason I really like this one is because it's a matte setting powder, and it's also slightly tinted, so it gives my skin like the slightest bit of coverage, but it's also matte. So I'm going to go ahead and actually take my DSMD Beauty Sponge, the black one, and I'm going to use that to apply the powder all over my face. And just as a side note, I am not applying this powder directly underneath my eyes. We don't want to cake too much product up under our eye area. So I don't apply any powder under there because I'm going to go in with concealer and I'm going to set this area later with powder. So I just bring it right up to that area, but I don't actually apply any powder directly underneath my eye. And then also on my nose, I don't apply like a whole lot of powder directly on my nose. I kind of just take whatever is left after I've applied everywhere else and just gently pat it over my nose, because I have noticed that for me, if I apply too much product on my nose, it will start to break up, and I don't want that. So I'm mostly focusing this powder on my cheek area, forehead, chin, and then whatever is left, I'll do a little bit on my nose, but nothing underneath my eyes. All right, so next up, I'm going to set all of this in place before I go in with my foundation, and for that, I'm using a setting spray. This is actually a new setting spray from Urban Decay. It looks like this. And this is their all-nighter vitamin C cactus flower water long-lasting makeup setting spray. So it's essentially like their regular all-nighter setting spray, except this one is a little bit more hydrating and it also has vitamin C in it. If you don't have this, you can use whatever setting spray you have. I'm going to be using a couple of different setting sprays throughout this video. Don't feel like you have to purchase every single one. I use them because I have them and they each serve different purposes, but don't feel like you have to pick up every single setting spray that I'm showing you in this video. I'll give you kind of an overview at the end. But yeah, I'm just going to shake this up and spray it all over my face to set the powder. Also, another reason why I like this setting spray in particular, even though it is a newer setting spray, is because since I do have oily skin, I am going to be using a lot of mattifying products, a lot of powders, and this is just going to help to add a little bit of that hydration back into my skin so that at the end of everything, we're not looking crusty and dry and powdery, if that makes sense. So I have really been enjoying that. If you want to pick it up, you can. No pressure. So next up, I'm going to be applying my foundation. And today, I'm going to be mixing two foundations. And I have been obsessed with this combination. So I'm going to be using my NARS, what is this called? The Light Reflecting foundation. Yeah, NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I have mine in the shade Tahoe. And I'm mixing that with the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream in the shade Tan 425 Neutral. These two together, listen, a match made in heaven. So if you have both of these, I recommend trying them out as a mixture, especially if you have oily skin. This one is a little bit of a lighter coverage, like medium to buildable coverage. This one is also a medium to buildable coverage, but this one is a little bit thicker. So these two together just give me a beautiful match and a beautiful application. And if you're curious, I am using the Morphe x Jaclyn Hill JH03 brush to blend this out. So really quickly, before I jump into concealer, I wanted to mention to you guys the proportions, I guess, of the foundations if you're interested. So I do 2 pumps of the NARS, and then I do 1 pump of the e.l.f. And then I do not even a half pump of this, which I didn't mention. This is the LA Girl Pro Color Foundation Mixing Pigment. I've showed this to you guys in the past. This one is the blue one, obviously, but they have orange, they have white, and they have yellow. They are pigments that you can mix into your foundation to help you get the perfect undertone. So the blue one, of course, is going to help to cool it down. The orange one is going to help to warm it up. They also have a white one for if your foundation is too dark, you can use that to lighten it up a little bit. These are super inexpensive. I think they're like $7 or $8, so definitely recommend. I just keep this on hand in case I need it, and usually now that I have it, I tend to use it in my foundations because most of the time they run a little bit on the warm side for me. So I do the slightest little drop of this in there and mix it all together, and then this is what I got. So just wanted to mention that to you guys in case you're interested, like, well, how much of each one does she use? And then this is how much I had left on my tray, which is not really very much at all. So next up, we're going to go into concealer, and I'm going to be using my Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Sculpting Concealer. There are lots of concealers that I have tried and used and loved, but I always go back to this one because it's such a great concealer. I'm going to be using this one, and I'm also going to be using my Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin. I have this one in 3.6. It's a little bit lighter and a little bit thicker, so I'm going to use this one just to apply to my inner corner, just to brighten it up a little bit and give me a little bit more coverage. And of course, I'm going to be blending everything out with my DSMD Beauty Sponge. Okay, so my camera actually turned off on me in the midst of blending out my concealer, so I already have it applied. You guys have seen me apply my concealer many a time in previous videos, so we're just going to keep it moving. Another tip that I wanted to mention, you guys, when it comes to applying your concealer is if you want a really nice, flawless application of concealer that is going to last all day, one thing that you can do is actually spray your beauty blender with your setting spray. So when you go in the bathroom to wet it and get it damp, which you should be using your beauty blenders damp, while you have it sitting to the side before you get to when you actually start using it on your face, spray it with your setting spray. So another one that I've been using is this one from Smashbox. This is the Photo Finish Setting Spray. I sprayed this all over my face when I did the stripes of foundation on my skin before I actually blended it out with my foundation brush. And then I also will spray this on my beauty sponge before I actually blend out either my foundation, if I'm using it for that, or before I blend out my under eye concealer. Really, the best way to think about it is that everything with this process is about building layers. So each time you do something, you're setting in between, you're setting in between, you're setting in between, and you're just building and locking in those layers as you go along. So this is a really great setting spray. Not a lot of people talk about this, but it is really good. So this is one that I have been using, especially now since we're having to wear masks and we're having, like, we need our makeup to be transfer proof. This one has definitely been coming in handy. So just wanted to mention that to you guys. And all I did under my eyes was apply this Too Faced concealer. Like I said, I did a little bit of butterscotch right in the middle, and I just blended the two of them together. And now I'm going to go in with my Makeup Forever, and I'm just going to do a little bit of this on the inner corners. Okay, so next, before I go in with my loose setting powder, I'm going to go in with this from Urban Decay. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter Waterproof Setting Powder. This is their pressed version. It looks like this. And I'm going to go in with this little brush. This is actually from Peach and Pearl. This was part of the collaboration that they did with Andrea Renee, and I really wish that they would have sold this particular brush separately because I use this brush all the time. But I'm going to go in with this powder, and I'm going to apply it right underneath my eye before we go in with our loose setting powder. And also make sure that you blend out your under eye before you set it, because if you set it before you blend it out, you're going to be setting in any creases that may be underneath your eye before you applied your setting powder. Okay, so now that we have our first layer of setting powder down, we're going to go in with a little bit of loose powder. Again, if you have dry or normal skin, or you don't feel like all these powders are necessary, you can definitely skip over any parts of this video that you don't feel are necessary for your skin type. But for me, being oily, I find that this process helps keep me matte throughout the day and just keeps my makeup locked in place all day long. So I'm going to be using this powder. Now, the Laura Mercier by itself is a really good powder. This actually is a concoction of several different powders that I have mixed together inside of here. I took the sifter off and I kind of made my own little concoction of several powders that I had on hand. So this has a little bit of the Laura Mercier Translucent Honey. It has a little bit of the One Size powder. It has a little bit of the Too Faced. Actually, I don't think I put any of this in there this time. I also think the Peach Perfect might be getting discontinued, but it has a lot of this Sephora translucent setting powder. So a good bit of this, some translucent honey from Laura Mercier, and then a little bit of the One Size, and we've got us a nice little concoction in a tone that is perfect for my complexion. So we're gonna go in with a little bit of this and add a little bit of powder to bake our face. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but when I apply this powder, I don't start right underneath my eye. I start down here, and I'm putting the majority of the powder on like my cheek area, and then I bring it up underneath my eye, because we don't want a ton of product right underneath our eye, but we do want obviously some. So just applying that on all the areas where I applied my concealer. And I'm actually pressing it in, so I don't know if you would classify this as baking because I'm really pressing the powder into my skin. But then while I'm filling in my brows, I'm going to go in with a little bit more and just apply it right along the side of my nose and directly underneath the inner corner of my eye. Alright, and then last but not least for powders, again, if you don't have this powder, you don't have to do this. If you have this powder, you can use this powder for this step, but since I have this powder, I'm going to use it, and I have been using it. This is the Urban Decay All Nighter Translucent Loose Setting Powder. So these essentially do the same thing. This is just a loose version, and this is a pressed version. But since I have this one, I have been using it. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and set the rest of my face. Okay, so brows are on. Next, we're going to go ahead and dust off this powder using the same brush I was using before. And we're kind of dusting and patting at the same time. And then next, to set the rest of our face, I'm going in with this powder from Fenty Beauty. This is the Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation, and I have mine in the shade 345. So I'm going to be using this brush from Morphe. This is the E1. And I'm just going to apply that all over the face on the areas that I did not apply that loose powder to bake. So basically on the perimeter, going up the sides, on the sides of my forehead, just all over. And then before we actually get into the final steps of locking all of this in place, I'm going to go ahead and do my bronzer, my blush, a little bit of eyeshadow, which I'm really just going to use my bronzers for eyeshadow, put on a lash, and then I will come back and show you guys the final steps to lock everything in to make sure it does not move all day long. I'm going to put this in fast forward, so if you're interested in seeing what I use, I'll link it down below, and let's go ahead and get to it. Alright guys, so we got a little natural eyeshadow happening. We got the lashes on. I showed you guys what I used for my eye makeup, and the face is done. So now I'm going to show you the final step of my makeup routine, which honestly has made the most difference in keeping my makeup locked in, the long wearability, keeping it transfer proof, all of that stuff. These steps that I'm about to show you, this is it, okay y'all? So pay attention, get your little pen and pad out, your phone, whatever. This is the part that you need to pay attention to. So the first thing that I'm going to do is set my face. Now the typical way that we're probably used to setting our faces, I'm going to show you guys something different that I've been doing that has made all of the difference. So for this, I'm going to be using a couple of different products. Again, if you don't have all of these products, don't feel like you have to mix and match all these different products. It's not necessary. If you have a setting spray that you love, use that. But since I have different options, I'm going to use all of the options that I have, but don't feel like you have to go out and buy all of these items that I'm about to be using. So first up, we're going back to our Smashbox setting spray, and what I'm going to do with this is do the normal way that you're probably used to setting your face, which is just spraying all over your face. I'm going to get my face pretty wet, not super wet, but pretty damp, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. So we're going to go ahead and spray our face. And then I'm going to let this dry down. And this first part is actually a tip that I saw on my friend Jasmine's channel, Jasmine Airedale. If you aren't following her or aren't subscribed to her, you should definitely check her out. She saw this on TikTok and she tested it out on her channel. So then I tested it out after I watched it on her channel, and I've been doing it ever since. So you're just going to spray your face. You guys see my face is pretty wet. And with all the powders that I use after spraying my face like that, it's looking pretty hydrated, if I do say so myself. So just gonna spray your face, let it dry down, you know, not all the way, but most of the way. I would say probably like 90%. Then you're gonna go in with a setting powder. Now I'm gonna be using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish setting powder. I have mine in the shades number 2 and number 3. Now you can use whatever pressed setting powder you have. I haven't tested out a bunch of different setting powders for this, so I can't tell you, like I can't give you other suggestions. So you'll kind of have to just use a little bit of trial and error. But these are the ones that I'm using that I have found work the best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my damp beauty sponge, the same black one that I was using for powder before. I'm going to dip it in here. I'm going to tap off some of it on, I have a towel in front of me. I'm going to tap off some of it. Then I'm going to go in and set my under eye again. Okay, just like that. You guys see the skin is looking, it just does something. It just gives a little something extra to the skin. It smoothed out my pores a little bit here. It smoothed out my under eye, and it will literally make underneath your eye, once I'm done with everything that I'm gonna show you, it'll make underneath your eye feel super soft and smooth. I'm gonna just put whatever excess I have up here on my forehead. And then I'm going to take my shade number 3 and I'm going to put this along the bottom of my face. Bring it up on my cheeks a little bit. This is also great for if you know, went overboard with your contour or with your blush. This is a good step to do for that. So that's the first part. Okay, so we did that. But now we've applied more powders onto our face, right? So we're gonna set all of that in place. Now this time, I'm going to actually spray my beauty blender and I'm going to press the setting spray into my skin. This is the key, you guys, okay? This is the key. And this is part of why I had to refilm this video, because when I started doing this, the difference that I saw in my skin and how long my makeup lasts, I'm telling y'all, this step right here is gonna change your life. So we're just gonna spray a good bit. You don't want it to be too wet, so if it's too wet, just tap it off, like if you have a towel in front of you or whatever. And then I like to start at the back of my face just in case it's a little too damp. I don't want to start right in the middle of my face. So I'm going to start back here and I'm just going to tap right over my makeup. Spray it again. Tap. And we're just going to keep repeating this until we set our entire face. Okay, so your face should be feeling pretty damp, but also if it was looking powdery or crusty or dry, everything should be kind of melting together, and you guys can kind of see how everything is just melting together and looking a little bit more blended and cohesive, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to do the same thing underneath my eye. But for this, since I have it, I'm going to use my hydrating one. Now for underneath the eye, you don't want to do too much because you don't want it to start breaking up. So I'm just going to spray a little bit and just bring that right underneath my eye. Okay. And also, I did apply my highlighter before doing this step. I used one of my OG limited edition highlighters, which I hate to show you guys because it is limited edition, but this was the collaboration that Desi and Katie did with Dose of Colors. This one is in the shade Midame. So if you're interested what highlighter I use, but you can literally use whatever highlighter you have or that you like. And when you do this setting spray process, it's really going to make your highlight pop, setting your highlight on top. Because normally what I've seen people say to do is to set your face first with your setting spray and then apply your highlighter. But I've actually noticed applying my highlighter and then pressing the setting spray on top makes my highlight really pop and stand out. So, okay, so we did that. We set our face. Next, again, an unnecessary step, but since I have it, I'm going to use this One Size Beauty On Till Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. And I'm just going to spray this all over my face. Okay, period. And then last but not least, okay, now this step is only for my girls that are super, super oily and you are trying to make your makeup super matte and super transfer proof, okay? If you are dry, if you are normal, I would not recommend this last step. But if you do this, when you put your mask on and you're going throughout the day, your makeup is not going to transfer onto your mask at all, okay? So for this, I'm going to be using this spray right here. This is the Ben Nye Final Seal Makeup Matte Makeup Sealer, okay? That's what that looks like. And I know that this is a makeup artist secret, so if there are any makeup artists that are watching this video, I'm sorry if I'm telling your secrets, but I gotta let the girls know. I got this off of Amazon. I actually have a larger container of this that just has a twist on top. So when this gets low, I just refill this bottle and then I buy the bigger bottle. When the bigger bottle runs out, I repurchase the bigger bottle and then I just keep refilling this one. This is going to be the key for my oily skin girls. Among everything else that I did, all the steps are important, but this as the final layer of your makeup is really going to lock you in. Your makeup is not going to go anywhere, okay? So I'm going to apply this the same way that I applied the setting spray before. I'm going to spray my beauty blender and then I'm going to press this onto my face. Now this I'm not going to apply underneath my eye because I don't want my under eye to really be super matte. But you will literally feel, as this dries down, you will feel your face, like, you will feel that happening to your face, like the mattification, if that's even a word, of your face happening as this dries down on your skin. And I really like to focus this on the areas where my mask is actually going to hit my face. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so this is how the face is looking. There's a lot of mattifying that happened to the skin, but I'm not looking dry. I'm not looking crusty. I do look matte, but my skin does not look unhealthy, overly dry, like stripped of moisture, anything like that. It looks flawless, and my makeup is going to stay in place all day long. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting ready. I'm going to do my hair and all of that stuff really quickly. And then, oh, also too, just in case you're interested in what is on my lips, I put on the Kylie lip liner in the shade Brown Sugar. On top of that, I went in with this Merit lipstick. This is in the shade Slip. It's like a nude kind of brown shade, really pretty. And then right on top of that, I went in with the original OG Fenty Gloss Bomb, the original shade right on top. So that is the lip combo that I'm wearing on my lips right now in case you're interested. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and finish getting ready, and then I'll come back to just give y'all like a final kind of look at everything and to wrap up this video. So I'll be right back. All right guys, so I'm back. This is the finished look. I went ahead and put myself together. I can't remember if I mentioned this to you guys at the beginning of the video or not, but I am going out tonight with a friend for a little girls night out. So I went ahead and got dressed, did my hair, just kind of got myself together a little bit. But I did want to pop back on here as promised and show you guys the finished look, how the face is looking. It has been about 30 minutes since I since the last clip that you guys saw, because I did have to crimp my hair and get dressed and everything. So it's been about 30 minutes, and this is how the face is looking. I will, of course, insert a couple of close-ups for you guys so that you can really get up close and personal and see my face. But I'm so happy to have finally filmed this video for you guys. Again, like I said, it has been one of my most requested videos over the past couple of months. You guys have been asking and asking and asking, and I have been slacking. So here we are. I have filmed the video for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found it helpful. Another thing I wanted to mention to you guys as well that I forgot to mention in the intro, as far as tips and like skin prep type things that you can do to help your makeup lay flawlessly on the skin, is that you can shave your face. Now, this is not for everyone, but I did want to mention it to those of you guys that may be interested. These little razors I actually got from Target. They are the Japanese brand, and they come in a set of 3. This is what they look like close up, if you want to see what it looks like. But they do come in a set of 3, and I did actually shave my face before I filmed this video, because I noticed over the past couple of, like over the last week or so when I've been doing my makeup, that it didn't quite look like it was laying quite right. And I also noticed just up around my lip it was a little bit darker, and a lot of that is just from the hair that naturally grows on our face. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's natural. Like, hair grows on our face. It just is what it is. But if you want your makeup to lay a little bit smoother, apply a little bit more just better. I don't know any better word to say. Another option that you can do is shave that peach fuzz off of your face. I do recommend being very careful with this, especially if it is your first time doing it. Do not apply a lot of pressure, and you do want to hold the razor at an angle, like a 45-degree angle on your face, not directly on your skin. And just be really gentle. Take your time. Don't go over the same spot over and over and over again. And I actually like to apply a cocoa butter face oil to my face, and it just helps the razor to glide a little bit smoother on the skin and not do a lot of tugging or create any unnecessary tension or abrasions on the skin. So yeah, if you would like to see how I do that, maybe I'll include it in a vlog in the future, or like a reel or something like that on Instagram. Let me know down below. But that is all that I have to share with you guys for today's video. Like I said, everything that I mentioned to you guys will be listed and linked for you guys down below in the description to make it super easy for you to find the items that I shared with you guys and purchase them if you're interested. As far as the setting sprays, I know I shared a lot of setting sprays with you guys, but if there are any that I would definitely recommend that you get, if you're oily, definitely this one on Amazon, the Final Seal Matte Makeup Sealer. I will link this for you down below. Again, I only recommend this for those of you guys that are super oily, or you want a super matte, like super OD transfer proof feel and look to your skin, because this is going to make your skin feel very matte. So just want to preface with that. Also, another one that I recommend is this one from Smashbox. Again, it doesn't get a lot of love here on YouTube, but it is a really great setting spray, and one of its claims is that it helps to make your makeup transfer proof, and I can say that it definitely does that. So I would definitely recommend this one. And then an OG setting spray, the Urban Decay All Nighter. This one has lots of different formulas. My favorite in particular is the All Nighter line. As you guys saw, I have this, I have the matte, the pressed powder, I have the loose powder. The All Nighter line is phenomenal. Highly, highly, highly recommend. So those would be my 3 choices if I had to give you like my top ones to choose from. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to share with you guys for today's video. Again, like I said, I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. So thanks so much again for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you very soon in my next video.
Bad little flex, she wanna know me. I stay low key, all gas, no brakes, baby, let them hoes sleep.